Well, outside the Olympics, football's World Cup is the biggest global event in sports, and of course, we Americans call football soccer. Held every 4 years, it takes place next in June and July 2018 in Russia. A key component in deciding which national team will make it through to the final rounds is the draw, deciding the order of the games between the 32 squads, and that draw was in Moscow earlier today. So which team lucked out and which drew the short end of the straw to face a top team in the early rounds? Well, with us is I-24 News senior producer and our own soccer maven, football, Yoav Borowitz. Yoav, the way people react to that draw, it sounds like the tournament is already over. We know who's going to make it to the finals. But you tell us, who are the winners and who are the losers in that draw today?
The tournament for sure started because the whole world basically saw this draw out of Moscow. Putin was there, Infantino, the two presidents of Russia and FIFA, and a lot of dignitaries. It was a very, very interesting event. And I would say we have some fascinating matches already in the group stages. If we're talking about Spain against Portugal, this derby, and England against Belgium, very high quality match. But also in the Arab world and in the Muslim world, we have Saudi Arabia against Saudi Arabia against Egypt, and Iran against Morocco. Two very, very interesting matches in terms of even politics.
Sure.
So it's going to be very interesting to watch. The whole world is basically represented. And, you know, the hype starts today.
And Yoav, of course, you're mentioning how interesting it would be to watch, and not only because of the teams playing. Russia, of course, is where major accusations of doping have taken place recently, major gay rights violations, not to mention terror threats. It's almost unimaginable to try to see how this will play out during the games.
You're absolutely right. I'm in a very problematic location for a World Cup. But, you know, just a year or 2 years ago, we had the Sochi Olympics, the Winter Olympics, and it went on quite peacefully. But the issue of gay rights, you know, in Russia, you're not allowed to exhibit any kind of gay rights support. So what about all the gay fans coming into Russia? We're talking, you know, millions of tourists probably will come to Russia. What about the terror threats? There are a lot of, you know, Daesh is really talking, you know, like, talking hard about terror threats in Russia. And just now, a few of the teams were there in Russia, and the security was terrible. Everyone could get close to the big stars. Nobody was checked. So it's a big question about security and the terror threats. And also doping, because we know that the Russian sports was mired by all those doping allegations and accusations. And Russian athletes were not allowed to participate in the last Olympic Games and World Cup. So now doping and football, you know, they just don't check doping enough. So it's also a sport that is very highly skilled. So maybe the athletes need performance-enhancing materials a bit less than other sports. Yet, soccer is not really checking itself. Let's see. But in the World Cup, they are checking. So the whole issue of doping, security, gay rights, human rights is going to be very interesting in this World Cup.
You know, getting back to the playing field now, whenever they have this draw, they talk about a group of death, or a death group. Sounds very ominous. What is that, and is there one this year?
I'd say that the group of Argentina, Nigeria, Iceland, and Croatia is very, very high quality. That's a good.
So that's 4 in a group, and how many get out of that group?
2.
Only 2.
We have 8 groups. 2 teams get out of each group, and then we have the Sweet 16, you call it, or the, you know,
right.
And we have the last 16. We're playing knockout stages. But already, you know, people are gambling money all over the world about the big favorites, whether it's Brazil, Argentina, Germany, France, Belgium, England, maybe.
Okay, Yoav,
Spain.
hold on. I'm going to stop you there. I'm going to write it down right now. I want your calls for the finals. Who is going to be in the finals in Moscow? And I'm writing this down, Yoav.
I hope it's going to be.
I didn't ask you who I hope.
We need to look at the whole draw, because you know.
Right. So you have that information
now. Argentina, Brazil is a possible final,
and all South American.
Yeah, which would be the biggest soccer game of all time, probably. But I'm an England fan myself. We always do horribly on this tournament, but I'm still optimistic. And I think looking at France, Brazil, and Belgium. Those are probably the three strongest teams, and maybe Argentina as well.
Are they the ones you're most excited about, Yoav, towards seeing?
Yes, for sure. You know, you're most excited to see the best teams. I'm a huge England fan, so I hope this time we'll make it. We just won it once in 1966 when England actually hosted it. But England is, you know, it's a soccer frenzy.
Okay, I know you want
all
England.
over the world.
It's like rooting for Israel.
But I think Egypt, I'm also a big Egypt fan because Egypt is one of the biggest stories of this World Cup. They made it for the first time since 1990, and they have an amazing star, Mohamed Salah from Liverpool. It's going to be fascinating to follow.
They need that victory.
Yoav Borowitz, our man on the grass, will be following this throughout the tournament. Yoav, thank you very much.